an update with the people of this city, and I just want to start by expressing my gratitude to all New Yorkers. You have made the whole world take notice of the greatness of this city, the strength, the compassion, the heart you've shown during this entire crisis over these last 2 years. New Yorkers, you have so much to be proud of. And we have together fought through. And that's the thing that moves me most, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that's what I'm feeling, just so much gratitude. I'm feeling gratitude for the whole 8 years we've been together, but particularly for the way people have just come together and fought shoulder to shoulder against such a massive challenge. And this city keeps fighting back, coming back. And I got up top here an update that I hope will give people some heart. We're getting ready for a new year, and I am very, very optimistic that 2022 is going to be the year when we can end the COVID era once and for all. I remember when we turned the page 2020 to 2021, Chirlane and I were there in Times Square. That was an incredibly joyous moment, because one thing every New Yorker agreed on, if we didn't agree on everything else, we agreed on one thing. We wanted to get out of 2020, and we left it behind. 2021, it's been a year with a lot of challenges, but you know what? The city has moved forward a lot during 2021, and you should be proud of that, every one of you. We've also set the pace for the nation. We've shown what it looks like to fight COVID the right way. We've done that together. People went out and got vaccinated in amazing, amazing numbers. So we're going to turn the page in just hours to 2022. And I feel in my heart that 2022 is going to be a better year when we can really start to leave COVID behind us. And if you want some evidence, some good breaking news today. First of all, let's talk about our city workforce. And again, this is another example of why vaccine mandates protect people. It's a tool to get us to a safer, better place. And as of today, happy to tell you, 95% of the city workforce now vaccinated. So folks continue to come in getting vaccinated, making themselves safe and everyone around them. 95%. That's one piece of breaking news. Here's another. We have now passed the 2 million mark of New Yorkers who have gotten the booster. And that's particularly important for fighting Omicron. So everyone listen. You still have the rest of today and tomorrow to get the booster and get the $100 incentive. Please, it's such an important thing to do. Go out, get it done. Get a little extra cash in your pocket while you're at it. But the other breaking news that moves me the most, long ago, I talked with our healthcare leaders, and we said, let's aim high for a vision of vaccination. We knew there was, people are hesitant. We knew there were people with concerns. I said, how many people can we get to? How many New Yorkers can we reach, get them fully vaccinated? We all agreed 5 million was a goal that was necessary. It would take a lot of work, but we could get there. We finally got to that goal this summer. Well, as of today, we have reached 6 million New Yorkers fully vaccinated. 6 million fully vaccinated New Yorkers. It is such an important, wonderful thing for this city. This is the safest place to be in this country because you went out and got vaccinated, and you keep doubling down on vaccination. So 6 million people, and climbing as we speak. That's just incredible good news. Listen, I am so thankful to everyone, the healthcare heroes, the vaccinators, Test and Trace Corps, everyone, all the everyday New Yorkers who rolled up their sleeve, and the amazing people here in City Hall and throughout the city government that they've literally spent 2 years fighting for you, giving their all. I want to thank all of them because it's been something that's been so moving, so impressive. Just filled with gratitude today. And we're going to talk about what these last 8 years have meant. But I want to thank everyone who's been a part of that as well. And a special thanks to everyone who has made these press conferences happen, even in the midst of COVID, to the whole team, folks who have done all the work to make sure we could give you the news every day and the updates and the information you needed. Thank you to the team here at City Hall, everyone who's been a part of this. because it's really been crucial. And I hear from people all the time, they say, wow, these updates really help. They really tell us what's going on, what we need to know. And it's been a privilege to provide that information to all New Yorkers. So let's take a look back at these 8 years. It's important to take stock. And we put together a video that kind of, in a brief way, summarizes what we came here to do and the ways that we all together have changed this city. Let's look at the video. Let me tell you a story about a city of 5 boroughs that fights injustice and inequality, a city that remembers our responsibility to each other. Our common cause is to leave no New Yorker behind. One city. Our strength is derived from you.
The people of New York City have helped carry on this powerful legacy by leading, by voting, by serving as activists, as community members.
This administration made it a mission to listen to the people of all of our neighborhoods. Together we fought for and built a stronger, fairer city. Transforming public education, making pre-K and 3K a universal right for every child in every district. A 10% increase in high school graduation rates. Closing the income inequality gap, lifting more than 500,000 New Yorkers out of poverty. Today, poverty is down 12.7%, the lowest record in New York City history. Between 2014 and 2019, median family incomes rose faster than at any time since the 1960s, and families of color shared in those historic gains. Fighting for working families, building and protecting 200,000 affordable homes. Paid sick leave and paid family leave are a reality. $15 minimum wage is a reality. We ended the broken policy of stop and frisk, making neighborhoods safer by bringing police and community together.
We have dedicated ourselves to a vision of true neighborhood policing, and it works.
Fighting the stigma of mental health. Established the Office of Community Mental Health. Our mental health helpline, 888-NYC-WELL, answered more than 1.4 million calls, texts, or chats from New Yorkers. Supporting small business. Certified more than 10,000 minority and women-owned businesses. Awarded more than $20 billion in contracts to MWBEs. More than 12,000 restaurants participating in our Open Restaurants program. Prioritizing safer streets. Delivering more bus lanes and open streets with Vision Zero. Creating 500 miles of new bike lanes. Enacting bold climate policies. Divesting $4 billion of city pension funds from fossil fuel securities. Investing billions in flood defense infrastructure to create resilient New York City shorelines. Cutting carbon emissions in our buildings. Mandating a fully electric municipal vehicle fleet by 2035. Leading the fight against COVID-19. Nearly 14 million COVID-19 vaccine doses administered. Becoming the epicenter of COVID-19 recovery. Creating the task force on racial inclusion and equity to address the needs of BIPOC communities hit hardest by the pandemic.
We see what binds all New Yorkers together. And understanding that big dreams are not a luxury reserved for the privileged few, but the animating force behind every community in every borough. This is your city. We have a responsibility, every one of us, to ensure that New York remains a beacon to our nation and to the world. I love that. That says, I tell you, I feel so gratified watching that. I also feel kind of tired. That was a lot of work, you know, long 8 years. But so many people, I mean, you look at those, each one of those achievements that everyone did together, signal New York City leading this nation in terms of the kind of changes we need. There's a lot of work, but it's just profoundly important. It's going to play out over years and years and have such an impact. And that's what we came here to do, and to talk about what we came here to do and and how we've put our hearts and souls into it, and that's my whole family. This has been, for all of us, the family together throughout. We came here as a family, and we have the whole way through stayed close, stayed together, stayed focused on what we can do for the city we love. So I want you to hear from the other members of the band, starting with our First Lady, Chirlane McCray.
Thank you, Bill. And I want you to know we have a little surprise for you. This is not going to go exactly as you intended, but first, I want to thank every New Yorker for the privilege of serving as First Lady. I thank every New Yorker because it has been truly an honor to be in this position, something I never anticipated. And certainly, after meeting Bill for the first time, just a few steps away from the mayor's office, working in the press office, and then as a speechwriter more than 30 years ago, who knew that that I would be sitting here in this position? Not I assure you. I never imagined that. So I want to thank you. Thank you, New Yorkers. Thank you, everyone who has served in this administration for helping us build a fairer city. And I also want to say, on behalf of 8.8 million New Yorkers, thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for your extraordinary leadership, for building this administration the way you have. It's been a journey that is just really hard to quantify. And there are many other people who want to thank you as well. So let's watch, shall we?
Hi, it's Billie Jean here.
Hi, my name is Loyson Gordon.
My name is Kershi Leifer. I go to Yeshiva Ostraga Retsky.
Hello, Mayor. This is Spike Lee.
My name is Corey Steinem.
Hey, I'm Cal Penn.
I'm New York City Council member Danny Drum, and I want to thank and congratulate Mayor de Blasio for all the great things we've done together.
Mayor Bill, we can't thank you enough for doing everything that you've done for our town.
We love you very much. Keep on the good fight.
So this is the video where I asked Mayor de Blasio for one last favor, right?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your guidance of our city during some very challenging years. And thank you for your work to bring the American LGBTQ+ Museum to the New York Historical Society.
On behalf of Nearstown and the entire community, and I want to thank Mayor de Blasio for all his help in saving this historic gem. Without you, we will not have been here today.
I had the honor of being part of the UPK program in 2017. Being in the video and invited to the State of the City address was a special experience. Thank you to Mayor de Blasio.
I was wondering on the way out the door of City Hall if you could throw me some resurfacing miles. Kidding. I'm proud of the many good things that we did together. Thank you. Stay well, my friend. Actually, what I want is another ferry route.
Happy holidays, Mayor de Blasio. This is
Valentine, Michaela,
and Amara, and we just want to say thank you for all that you have done. And for families like ours, we just want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Joining you in this administration as a member of the City Council, it's really been an honor working with you to advance so many issues that we truly care about.
Thank you for your partnership in the last year to increase funding for senior services. And thank you so much for your capital investment in helping to rebuild 70 Mulberry Street in Chinatown.
Muchas gracias por lo que ha hecho por la comunidad inmigrante de la ciudad de Nueva York. Por el ID NYC, hoy podemos ser visibles. Dios lo bendiga y dirija sus siguientes pasos. Mucha suerte.
Mayor Bill de Blasio! I'm particularly thankful for all the work that we did on universal pre-K. It has made all the difference in the world.
Thank you for prioritizing young people. Thank you for prioritizing pre-K.
I'm also grateful for the Council on Gender Equity, something many other cities did not have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It has been the honor of my lifetime to serve New Yorkers as your health commissioner.
It's been an honor to serve in a leadership role during your administration. While the work is not done, I know wherever you're off to, you will continue the fight.
Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you personally for this honor, presenting me with the key to the city. I misplace my keys all the time, but this one, I am going to keep a close eye on. What can I say? Man, you are a dedicated public servant, dedicated New Yorker. Really thank you for everything you've done.
Mayor de Blasio, thank you so much for working with the New York City Taxi Workers Alliance on the issue of medallion debt forgiveness. It was a huge issue for so many New Yorkers and their families. Thank you so much. I know it meant a lot to a lot of people.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for all of you've done on behalf of the people in the last 8 years.
I want to thank you for your years here at City Hall, being the mayor of the greatest city in the world.
Can you? The lights are much brighter there. You can forget all your troubles, forget all your cares. So go downtown.
As this chapter of your long career in public service comes to an end, I look forward to continuing to work with you to make New York a better and better place. Congratulations again.
Wow.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio. I hope you feel good about that.
Yeah, but you didn't tell me anything. Everyone out there, they did not tell me this part.
Yeah,
it's
well,
not in my little book here.
Sometimes you get surprised.
This is off book. Who authorized?
We are live and off script, and it's not over.
I thought it was going to be a cheeseburger and fries, something I know what to do with. This was very, no, it was beautiful, really beautiful.
We have tremendous gratitude, and obviously you've transformed the lives of so many New Yorkers for the better, and they're feeling it. And they're going to continue to feel it for months and years to come. And I'd like you to hear from another New Yorker on the other end of the table. Dante?
I'll speak briefly. It's been an adventure. 9 years ago, we were sitting at a kitchen table in Brooklyn, and my dad says, thinking about running for mayor. I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? You've got a pretty good job already. And he went for it, and he did it. And I certainly didn't know all the changes that would come. I don't think any of us did. And it was an adjustment, but it's just been such an incredible experience overall. And one of the bright spots along every step of the way is that everywhere I go in New York, people treat me like an adopted son. There's so much warmth, openness, and honesty every single place I go, and a lot of honesty. New Yorkers are rarely shy about their opinions. And I think the most significant part of the experience was seeing firsthand how much good you can do through government. I'm always struck by thinking back to 2013, the Democratic primary, and the issues that were so controversial then, things like getting rid of stop and frisk, instituting paid sick leave, raising the minimum wage. These things were not agreed upon in the Democratic field, and now we take them for granted. There's been so much progress made over the last 8 years, and we've been able to push the whole world to have much more innovative policies. And this is especially important because on the federal level, we can't always get all the policies we'd like. We've got a few issues along the way. But it's been incredible that New York City has been a leader on climate change policy, on mental health policy, and of course, early childhood education. So there's just so much to be proud of and a lot to be hopeful for. And I have no doubt that, in large part because of the work that you've done, that New York will remain a leader in policy innovation. So I want to thank all the city government employees who have been keeping the city up and running for the last 8 years, who've done such incredible work. I want to thank my parents for their leadership and courage along the way. And I want to thank New York for allowing my family to serve and represent this incredible city.
Thank you. Beautiful, Dante. I want to thank you, dude, because as a parent, I'm super proud of you, and I'm proud of your sister. Both of you, at different points in the last 8 years, gave of yourself. Chiara did such important work on domestic violence and on mental health issues. You've done wonderful work with the outreach in communities, getting people vaccinated, and the work you've been doing to spread the message about things that are really available to New Yorkers to help them, whether it's a vaccination or whether it's the amazing work of the Cure Violence movement and the crisis management system. And that's a beautiful impulse that you wanted to do that. And it made me very, very proud, very proud. And I gotta say, my partner in all things, and it is kind of really small village that we're sitting here saying goodbye, and we met like 10 feet away 30 years ago. This is like our super village here. But everyone knows you're the love of my life. And every morning I wake up and marvel at you and what you.
Marvel at you.
Well, I marvel at you more.
No, I marvel at you more.
Okay, we could go on doing this, but I have said it, there's no way any of this would have happened without you. And every time where we thought on any given day, on any given thing we were dealing with, whenever I started to lose heart, you were always the one that said, we can do this. And we did.
It's true, and we did, and we did.
I'm gonna tell the whole world I love you.
And I love you, I love Dante. Our whole family is so grateful to have had this opportunity. It's really been an incredible, incredible adventure, and I tip my cap to you, baby.
You're not wearing a cap. You can tip the bun.
All right, I tip my bun to you.
It could be a new thing.
You kept it going.
Well, I just want to say a few more things really quickly. And it is still a press conference, so we're going to open it up to our colleagues in the media in a moment. But listen, it's interesting, that video of course, it brings me back to the first day. And 8 years ago, we had a vision of fighting inequality. We really believed it had to be done. We felt it urgently. And I knew that if this city didn't change, we weren't going to make it for the long term. It just wasn't going to work. I really felt at times that the New York City we love was slipping away, because it was meant to be. As we're New Yorkers, this is who we are. We're a city for everyone. This is our magic. This is our power, a place that people have come to for generations and created something and built something, and it was always open to them, the ultimate open city. And for the folks who have been here for generations upon generations, a city that generates such passion and love. We love our city. We love it deeply. And it doesn't matter if you 10 generations back or you got here, 10 minutes ago. People feel this extraordinary deep love. And it came out in these last 2 years especially. But I felt 8 years ago that if we didn't make this a more fair and equal place, that we would lose the magic. We would lose the power of being that open city. And in fact, the facts were daunting 8 years ago. We had become the most unequal, the most stratified, the biggest gap between the wealthy and everyday New Yorkers that we had ever seen. And it had to change. And the way it changed was because of you. I want this to be really clear. It was because of you. Everything was because of you, the people. We weren't supposed to be here. It's not a secret. I was an underdog. The people made a decision that it was time for a bigger change. And then every step of the way, you fought for it. You demanded the things that we did together. Pre-K for all, that only happened because of the people. If the people weren't there for it, it was never going to get through. Well, we needed Albany, and I assure you, it wasn't folks in Albany a priority. But the will of the people in New York City made it a priority. And we got it done. And then when we did pre-K, we added one grade. We realized how powerful it was. We added yet another grade with 3K. So because of you, 2 years more of free, quality public education for our youngest New Yorkers. That's what you did. And now it has literally become the national model. And President Biden is fighting for it for the whole nation. When you think about each of the pieces, it all came from the will of the people. And that's the power of democracy. We believed we could do something different, and we keep proving it over and over again. We've been through so many challenges, but we proved we could bring down crime and unite police and communities. We could create community-based solutions to violence, like the Cure Violence Movement, crisis management system. We could do things differently, things that had only been dreamed of because people were ready for a change. And they didn't want to settle. Dante just invoked that moment, and it's a very powerful point. You know, I remember when getting rid of stop and frisk, a lot of voices said, oh, that will be so horrible, the sky will fall, chaos. You know, no, we proved that that conventional wisdom was wrong. And having a bold, positive vision actually got us to a much better place. We were able to have safety and fairness walk hand in hand. And that's our future. And in terms of looking out for working people, putting working people first, paid sick leave, great example. I remember all the voices saying, no, it's gonna be horrible, it's gonna cost too much, it's gonna be bad for business. No, paid sick leave was good for not only business, it was good for humanity. Why should someone have to choose between a day's pay or taking care of their health or the health of a family member? We created a more decent society, a more compassionate society with that. And we didn't believe the hype and the critique. You're right, Dante, $15 minimum wage. I remember people telling me that's outrageous and impossible. Now it's the norm. We all did that together. So what I think is beautiful about these last 8 years and moving is we put the focus back on working people. This had become a city way too dominated by elites. And this work is far from done, but we put the focus back on working people. We reoriented what your city government does and made it focus on you. And that will be felt now, but it'll be felt more and more with every passing year, because the things we've set in motion are going to build and build and build. And for all of us who believe that we can create a more just society, I hope these 8 years provide the evidence. The nation's largest city, the most diverse place on earth, a place that has dealt with immense challenges over these 8 years, and yet we constantly kept moving forward. And we kept creating new model after new model. We showed people what could happen, and it's being picked up all over the country. Climate, even what we've done the last days with the gas ban, that is being immediately cited as a new way to fight the climate crisis. There's so many wonderful examples, but they all come back to the same notion. We did it. We, our family, we got to be here because of you. And we listened to what you wanted, and we followed your beliefs and got to a new place. And we proved that all things are possible. I'll finish with this, that I think the greatest lesson to me was to never accept when you're told something can't happen. Pre-K wasn't supposed to be possible. Paid sick leave wasn't supposed to be possible. 200,000 affordable apartments wasn't supposed to be possible. Well, not only did that happen, it's now going to be 300,000. The whole thing, over and over again, we kept hearing it wasn't supposed to be possible. And we found the extraordinary possibilities out there. So I just urge for everyone who wants a more fair and just society, never let anyone tell you what you can't do. Believe in yourself, believe in what we can do together. For my family, for all of us, there's no words for how special this has been. But I will tell you that I came in the door loving this city deeply and loving its people deeply. I have come to love you even more because I've seen the heart and soul of this city. I've seen how good the people are. And the last 2 years especially, I've seen heroism. This is a hero city. This city, the eyes of the world have been on New York for the last 2 years. And what you've shown the world is the very best of us. So my love has grown, and I honor you. I thank you. The world is watching, And every day you impress the rest of the world even more because you are New Yorkers in the finest spirit. This generation of New Yorkers has taken all the good in this city and taken it to the next level. And what a privilege to have joined you on that journey. I want to leave you with, and we will take questions, don't worry. I want to leave you with, first I'm going to say just a few sentences in Spanish. And it's very, very simple summary. Durante los últimos 8 años, creamos un mejor camino hacia adelante. Hicimos grandes cambios para ayudar a las familias trabajadoras, a nuestros hijos y proteger nuestra ciudad. Gracias a todos los neoyorquinos, muchísimas gracias. Ha sido mi honor servirles. And with that, I want you to hear a very, very brief clip from my favorite Bruce Springsteen song. And I would say no artist, and there's so many artists who love the city and have portrayed it, but no one's brought out the heart and soul more than Bruce, is his love for New York City. I know he's from that other nearby state, but his love for New York City comes out in so many songs so powerfully. And from the album, this is early in his career, and I think it's one of his best songs. It's from The Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle, the song New York City Serenade. And New Yorkers who love music and haven't heard New York City Serenade, you should. But there's one line of farewell, and I want you to hear it here for a moment.
Sometimes you just gotta walk on.
The part where he says, "So long, Joe." Try that again where you get the first words.
Can we do that again, Mike?
Let's see what we get right here. I think we can do this. And louder. More volume.
So long. Sometimes you just gotta walk on.
So long, sometimes you just gotta walk on. So for our family, we're gonna walk on now. We're gonna welcome Eric Adams as our new mayor with happiness and with a great sense of hope. And what a joy it has been, what a privilege it has been. So New Yorkers, God bless you. Thank you for this beautiful journey. And let's now turn to our colleagues in the media. Thank you, everybody.
We'll now begin our Q&A. As a reminder, we're joined today by Dr. Choksi, by Dr. Katz, and by Dr. Long. The first question today goes to Dave Evans from WABC.
Hey, Mayor, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Dave, how you doing?
I'm fine. Hey, I just wanted to ask you, since we're now 2 years, going into 2 years in this pandemic, the fact that Andrew Cuomo is gone and that you're still here plugging along, do you feel a little vindicated?
Oh, Dave, you're devilish. Now, look, I do think there is a power in, sticking to it. I really do. I'm not going to talk about other people. I'll only say I believed in what we were doing here. I really did. And we just caught hell the whole way through, from Albany, pretty much the whole time, and then for 4 years from Washington. But it never stopped us. And I am proud to have run the whole race and stuck to what I believed. I really am. And I think the vindication, Dave, is in the fact that people had faith in a vision of change, and then they saw it take place. They saw it actually come to happen. That's really moving to me. And during COVID, you remember, Dave, there's many times where I tried to point in a certain direction and got a lot of pushback from other parts of government, let's say. But in the end, this city is the safest place to be in the country right now and has been the leader in fighting COVID. And that makes me very proud. Go ahead, Dave.
Just my other question very quickly. I know this morning you said you're just going to be going around the state starting next week. And we've all been asking about, your future, your political future, possibly running for governor. But I just wanted to ask you on that thought, what do you tell New Yorkers who really don't like you, who have said things to us like, is he kidding, thinking that he can run for governor? What do you at least tell them now?
Well, look, Dave, the notion that some people aren't going to agree with you on any particular issue or aren't going to like you at any particular point, I mean, that's kind of part of life in general. It's certainly part of political life. I think the bottom line is I put forward a vision 8 years ago, and we actually followed through on that vision. We got it done. There's more to do, but we got done the things we said we would do. I came to the people 4 years ago and asked them to ratify it again, and they did overwhelmingly. That makes me feel great. So I think the bottom line is, whatever I do going forward, I'm going to offer a vision. And if people believe in that vision, then that's what will make happen. And if they want something else, that's fine. That's what democracy is all about. But I'm going to offer a vision. And I think folks are constantly reassessing everything, especially after everything we've been through. But they really want to hear how we can change things more fundamentally, because the status quo just isn't working for people in general. And so I think it's not static. I really don't, Dave. Seriously, this is not like spin. This is from the heart of what I've lived and learned. I don't think anything's static. I think what people are going to think in a month or 2 months or 6 months is often very different from what they think at any given moment today.
Next is Courtney Gross from New York One.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, can you hear me?
Yeah, Courtney, how you been?
I'm well. I'm standing in the rotunda, not far away from you. Congrats, I guess, on your last press conference. And along that vein, I guess, would you say, I mean, you sort of touched on this just a moment ago, but would you say kind of mission accomplished? Do you think that if you were to grade yourself that you're getting an A after 8 years?
Well, Courtney, one, no, I would never say mission accomplished, because fighting inequality is going to be something we all have to do for years and years. Would never say mission accomplished. I would say we had a specific set of goals and we achieved the vast majority of those goals. I'm very, very proud of that. We said pre-K for every child, did that, doubled down with 3K, that's going to be universal. We said 200,000 affordable apartments. We're now going to have 300,000. You go through the whole set of things. We did fundamentally change the relationship between police and community. Neighborhood policing is a whole different thing, a much better model, and it will grow and deepen from this point on. These are the things we came here to do. They are a beginning of fighting inequality. It was very powerful to see the information from the IBO that made so clear that for the first time in ages, we actually put more money back in working people's pockets and started to create a more fair and just society. That's what we came here to do, and that's what we were able to do, working with everyone. So that's exciting to me, but no, there's so much more to do going forward. And I'm not going to give a grade. I've never done the grade thing. I'm just going to express my satisfaction that this amazing group of people that I gathered together, I'm so proud of them. They took the mission and they just ran with it and made it happen over and over and over again. And a whole bunch of things we didn't even start with. I care deeply about climate, but a lot of the ideas that we actually achieved were not part of our original platform. But some of the most powerful things we've done on climate, we learned along the way. We figured out how to do guaranteed health care along the way. We figured out how to do mental health for all along the way. It just kept growing and growing and growing. And that, to me, that's really, really satisfying. Go ahead, Courtney.
And then on your future, your committee is undeclared. So I'm curious whether or not it is governor or nothing, or would you consider, if your poll numbers aren't that great, run for lieutenant governor or for state controller? And can you give us any more details on whatever it is you're going to be doing next week on your travels?
Okay. Multi-part question. The time to speak about the future is up ahead a little bit in the future. Not going to do that today. I can say to you that whatever plans I have, I'll be talking about very, very soon. In terms of going around the state, I actually didn't say next week, but it will be very soon. I will take a few days off to recharge. But what I have made very clear is I have a committee that is going to be the vehicle I use to talk about the changes we need in this state. And I'm going to do that very, very energetically. And it begins with ensuring that we change education fundamentally. We need to revolutionize education in this state. It should be all day, all year, all free. For any parent who wants it, for any child who needs it. And we can do this if we are willing to do the thing that still too many people fear, which is taxing the wealthy at a level that's fair and asking those who have done very, very well to pay their fair share in taxes. That's what I'm going to fight for. The other details will be filled in very, very soon.
The next is Michael Gartland from the Daily News.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations on your 8 years.
Thank you, Michael. It's been a good run, and thank you for being a part of these mornings together. Well, it's afternoon in this case, but let's pretend it's morning.
Yeah, I almost said morning. I get a couple of questions that are probably too specific for this final press conference, but I'm going to let them go anyway. You know, one of the points on your legacy on law enforcement, I was wondering if you could just talk a bit about what that legacy is and what you would have done differently in hindsight, looking back over the past 8 years.
Honestly, Michael, I really believe this is going to be examined and understood in the years ahead. Take away the pandemic, it would be abundantly clear. 6 years in a row, crime went down. We rebonded police and community in many ways, created an entirely different approach to policing, focused on the relationships and the sort of positive relationship between police and community members, retrained the entire police force in de-escalation, a whole host of reforms, re-empowered the Civilian Complaint Review Board. I mean, to me, there's a very powerful package that's a great model for where policing needs to go, and I'd like to see this kind of approach all over this country. The last 2 years have been thrown off by the perfect storm of COVID, there's no question. But I think the power of neighborhood policing is going to play out even more in the years ahead. And it's now complemented by the neighborhood-based solutions to violence, crisis management system, cure violence, that were, in the beginning of this administration, just nascent. They're now a really powerful part of keeping people safe, and I'm really proud of that. Go ahead, Michael.
Just something to share with the rest of the press corps here. I just received responses on FOIL requests that have been pending for months, so thank you for that. The second question I had has to do with something Eric Adams said today. He said on the private sector vaccine mandate that you could have done a better job communicating the ins and outs of that to stakeholders. Is that a fair critique? Is there anything you would have done differently on that rollout?
You know, we were dealing in all these things with very tight timelines because of the danger that was coming on. We could see the winter months coming, the holidays and gatherings, Omicron. We had no one, and my fantastic healthcare leadership, and they really have done an outstanding job seeing us through this crisis, but none of them, no one anywhere expected Omicron to move this quickly. It's been breathtaking speed. But what we needed to do was move quickly to get ahead of it. So I called it a preemptive strike. When you're doing a preemptive strike, you don't get to lay all the groundwork you might ideally like to. So I think I really have tremendous respect for Eric Adams. I think everyone knows it. I think if he's hearing from people they would have liked more conversation before, I respect that. Of course, we would like to have done that too. But what I am hearing is overwhelming compliance and the recognition in the private sector that the one thing that's fundamentally true is COVID is bad for business. And if we don't stop COVID, if there's any possibility of shutdowns and restrictions again, that's the worst of all worlds for businesses. So I've had the very conversation with business people. I say, look, this is how we stop COVID. And, you know, the danger is still falling backwards. And the first thing out of everyone's mouth is, whatever you do, please, no shutdowns, no restrictions. Keep us moving forward. So I feel good that we got to the right place.
The next is Dana from the New York Times.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations on completing almost your tenure.
Dana, you saw it. I started out humbly serving my neighborhood, and it's been a long road.
It's been a very long road, that's true. If there's one mistake you've made as mayor or one pitfall that you would recommend Adams avoid at all costs, what would it be?
You know, Dana, it's a good question. I think, and I've talked about lately, this, to say the least, it's hard to describe how intense this job is. It's hard to describe how relentless the dynamics are. I mean, it's just constant incoming, constantly changing dynamics. This is before we even talk about pandemic. And staying on track with an agenda is a huge challenge. And I think at times it's really hard to remember how important it is to make sure whatever it is you're working on, you're communicating right to people. And I think there were times where we were doing the right thing but not communicating it the right way. And I take personal responsibility for that. So I've talked to the mayor-elect about this. I think he's a fantastic communicator. I think he understands, you do have to account for both reality and perception. I think sometimes we did a hell of a lot better job on the reality part than the perception part. And so, but that's, to me, I'm a work in progress. That's something I'm going to keep working on. But I also have said to him, because I have great faith in him, that anything I can do to help him, and I know the members of my team have really been shoulder to shoulder with his team in these recent months, and that's an ongoing commitment. I really want him to succeed, and any way I can help him, I'll be there for him. Go ahead, Dana.
Thanks. I mean, it's your last press conference. This is a softball, but if you, what is the biggest misconception about you?
Look, that's obviously in some way for other people to figure out, but I guess when you ask it, the thing that comes to mind is just, my story is pretty straightforward, and I don't know if it's come through clearly enough. Why did pre-K happen? Pre-K happened because we were trying to find some place for Kiara, and there were very, very few options. And Chirlane and I were both working, but we weren't making a lot of money, and we both had really tight schedules, and we didn't know what to do. And if she hadn't gotten into the school she got into, we were kind of out of options. The reason I say that is everything is derived from my family experience, whether it's the family I was born into and everything my mom and dad went through, my brothers went through. I mean, everything, the things I believe came from life, came from the people I met and the people who are part of my life and their struggles. And I think the fact that it's all about empathy, I don't know if that's come, I don't know if I've expressed it well enough. I don't know if it's always been seen as much as it could have been. But in the end, that's what has driven me. It's just empathy. And sometimes empathy is, it's if you really feel what people are going through, and I do, I think that makes this job harder in some ways, if you're feeling the pain that people are going through. And I do feel it very, very intensely, but I try to find a way to answer it with something real. And I don't know if that's been seen as much as I wish it had, but I do know that again, ultimately what matters is, have you reached people in a way that makes their life better and eases their burden? And I do believe in my heart, we've done that in these last 8 years.
The next is Matt Chase from Newsday.
Hey, good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. How are you? Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Matt. How you been?
I've been all right. I don't know if this is Stockholm syndrome, but I think I'm going to miss these press conferences.
You see, I like that. Hey, let me tell you, brother, a lot of good dialogue, and I thank you and your colleagues, even when you ask tough questions. It has been part of what's allowed us to keep people informed. A lot of times the questions you ask tough, probing questions, but a lot of times they're the very questions that everyday New Yorkers want asked, and I appreciate that.
Well, in that spirit, using apples to apples comparisons, are the most recent week's child hospitalization figures the highest for any week of the pandemic? And regarding this week's numbers, what % of hospitalized kids have pre-existing conditions?
Excellent question. I'm going to turn to Mitch Katz, and then if Dr. Choksi or Dr. Long want to add in. But Matt, a perceptive question, and I'm happy to say one we've been talking about a lot, because that pre-existing condition piece, I would say it also a little differently to cue up Mitch. It's not just pre-existing condition, it's did they come into the hospital for COVID or for something else? And what's been telling to us, thank God, is how few kids are having a problem first and foremost because of COVID, and how relatively mild their experience has been. So this is something I'm really concerned about, but I am happy to say that the results so far have been pretty positive. Dr. Mitch Katz, take it away.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And it's a good time for me to clarify in general the hospitalization numbers, because if you look at them, sir, they're very frightening. Major increases in hospitalization in children and adults. And while we are concerned, a large part of the increase, people have to understand, is that we now test everybody who comes into the hospital at the time of admission, every adult, every child. So we're both dealing with people and children who have COVID symptoms, and we're dealing with children and adults who sprain their ankle and they have COVID. And they have an adult with congestive heart failure and they have COVID. So it is a mix of people who are being hospitalized due to COVID, because COVID is making them sick, and people who are being hospitalized for other things and have COVID because there's so much community transmission going on. With respect to the children, the COVID admissions that we're seeing that really are due to COVID are overwhelmingly in the very young children and in unvaccinated children, where we're seeing some febrile illnesses. In general, since the beginning of the pandemic, children have weathered better from COVID than seniors. And so we're seeing the children recover. None of us are happy to see any child in a hospital, but in general, we're not seeing children doing poorly. We're seeing children coming in, needing treatment for several days, and then ultimately getting released, along with children who are positive and in the hospital for some other reason. I do know that especially the children's hospitals that care for children who have cancer or immunosuppression worry greatly, because we know those children cannot mount as good antibody responses as healthy children. And so we beg everyone to please get vaccinated and wear a mask, not just for yourself, but for other people in the community who cannot mount an appropriate response. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I want to see if Dr. Choksi wants to add.
Yes, sir. I'll just briefly add 2 points. The first is to underscore what Dr. Katz just said, and to emphasize that the data is very clear for children who are currently eligible for vaccination. Unfortunately, the preponderance of the hospitalizations are among unvaccinated children. So we are, redoubling our messaging and our efforts for Parents, if your child is eligible to get vaccinated, that means anyone aged 5 and up, please get your child vaccinated to help protect them during this Omicron wave. The second thing is that we are monitoring pediatric hospital capacity in particular. And right now, there is good hospital capacity across New York City. Even though hospitalizations have increased significantly, as was mentioned, there continues to be enough staffed beds and enough care in our children's hospitals across the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Long, anything to add?
Nothing to add, sir.
Okay, great. And let me just say before Matt gets his next question, just to all New Yorkers, these healthcare leaders, just as good as it gets anywhere in the world, to Dr. Choksi, Dr. Katz, Dr. Long, obviously Dr. Varma, Dr. Easterling, the cast of characters goes on and on. This team in 2021 has led the nation. And I have had the very best people advising me. And they have been bold, they have been visionary, they have been tireless. So just want to say, so proud of these guys, everyone, just amazing, amazing effort. With that, back to you, Matt.
I hope this doesn't count as my second question, but Drs. Katz and Choksi, while I appreciate the boosterism for the vaccines, I would like the answers to the questions asked, which are those the highest in pediatric numbers of the pandemic, and what are the rates of those hospitalized these days have pre-existing conditions? So I'd love that. But the question I have for you, Mr. Mayor, is it ever worth misleading the public by omission to serve a greater good, in your view?
Well, loaded, respect the question, but it's a loaded question. I think it's really important to give people the whole picture. I believe that's been our approach throughout. So I don't know what else to say but to say, you know, certainly over these last 2 years, the challenge has always been having to give people really tough news a lot of the time and really challenging mission that we would go on together as New Yorkers. I have found New Yorkers have responded to that, you know, that give them both the challenge and the hope. I think it's important to do both. I feel like that's what we've done.
The next is Yehudit from Borough Park 24 News.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
Good, Yehudit. How you been?
Good, thank God. So I have a question, but I'm a little bit confused about what the doctors are saying about childhood hospitalizations. And also something that Eric Adams said this morning, that there's just a general trend of higher hospitalizations right now, and some of the people happen to have COVID. I'm just trying to understand what exactly is going on in the hospitals. Fair point. If you could just explain that.
Yeah, and I'll start with Dr. Katz, then go to Dr. Choksi, Dr. Long. Both answering Yehudit's question, and if there's any specifics to Matt's question that you can throw in, please do, or else we can get it to afterwards. But I do think demystifying what's going on with the numbers, what they mean, and what your sense is of how much of it is COVID happens to be present versus the problem caused by COVID. Mitch, you and I have talked about this. I think re-clarifying that would be helpful.
Yes, thank you, sir. And thank you, Yehuda, for asking. And I will be the first to say that this is a little bit counterintuitive. So the way that I came to a deep understanding about this is I watch very closely the numbers in our 11 city hospitals. And like all New Yorkers, I was deeply troubled by how many more people had COVID. And I'm wondering how I'm going to make sure that I'm able to take care of them. But at the same time, I noticed that my census, the overall number of people in my hospital, wasn't any different. So all of a sudden, I had more people with COVID, and I had less people without COVID, and I had the same census for my 11 hospitals that I've always had. So then I did, with great doctors, they did detailed chart reviews to answer the question of, okay, so as we're admitting these people who have COVID, why are they getting admitted? And I was especially interested to see, what services they would need. And that's when I discovered that a large number of the people who we were admitting with COVID, they didn't come because of COVID. They didn't come because they had shortness of breath or cough. Some of them were in traumas. Some of them had exacerbations of diabetes or congestive heart failure. They came for that reason with symptoms consistent with those illnesses. But because we test everybody on the way in order so that we can make sure that we keep people who are COVID positive separate from people who are COVID negative, we learned that they were positive. And so what that showed us is that there's so much community transmission right now of COVID that it includes many people who are coming to the hospital for reasons other than COVID. On the number of children, and this is not just a New York City CDC issue, it's very hard at this point in the pandemic to have detailed data on things like children with comorbidities. I mean, that is a much deeper dive into the data. So I know at a health and hospitals level, we don't have a specific number that I can point to. I can tell you that, as Dr. Chosky said, most of the children coming in are either under 5 and not eligible for vaccination, and they're healthy children with fever, or they're over 5 and unvaccinated, and they're coming in with COVID-like symptoms, or they're coming in with other things and are being tested on the way in. We have not ourselves seen large numbers of children with other comorbid illnesses. I'll turn it over to Dr. Chosky to see if he has more to add on that.
Thank you so much, Mitch. I agree with it. I would just summarize it to your question, Yehu, that we follow hospitalizations for people with COVID and hospitalizations for people due to COVID. And both of those numbers are increasing. So this is not to, not to deny the fact that we are seeing real increases in hospitalizations due to COVID, and that is attributable to Omicron. That is something that we do have to take seriously. And again, we all have to do our part, particularly to support our healthcare workers who have been just working nonstop for the past 2 years. I visited several hospitals over the course of this week, and people are handling the increase in patients, but they are tired, and many of them are getting sick due to Omicron as well, even though they are fully vaccinated because of some breakthrough infections. So this is all to say we're seeing a real increase in hospitalizations, but we have to look a little bit beyond the crude hospitalization numbers for the reasons Dr. Katz has pointed out. And ultimately, we want to deliver a very clear message to our fellow New Yorkers. Please do the things that we have talked about: getting vaccinated, getting boosted, testing, masking, because they will help us to minimize severe disease and help us get through this wave. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Long, you want to add?
Just in a word, our real world experience in New York City, given where cases are, and given that hospitalizations aren't proportional to where cases are now, shows how highly effective the vaccine is. So if you take one thing away, the message here is continue to get vaccinated, get boosted. It is highly effective, and it'll keep our healthcare heroes safe as they serve all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Yehuda.
Well, Mayor, I have a question for you, but can I please just ask one follow-up question of Dr. Chokshi, just real quick?
Of course.
Dr. Chokshi, so are you saying that or any of the doctors, are you saying that that COVID is exacerbating those other conditions that would cause people to be hospitalized, but they wouldn't necessarily be hospitalized for Omicron alone?
The answer is yes. In some cases, that is happening. For someone who's coming in, for example, with emphysema that is worsened because they have a COVID infection, we are seeing some of that in our hospitals. We're also seeing, as Dr. Katz has pointed out, people who are coming in completely incidentally. Maybe they were in an accident or had an injury, and because they're getting tested upon admission, they're found to have COVID. Of course, COVID doesn't cause or worsen the injury in that case. So it is a mixed picture, but again, I want to keep it on the top line, which is that we are seeing real COVID hospitalizations increasing, but we're also seeing some of these other effects in the data.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And then Mayor de Blasio, I wanted to ask you, so we're from different parts of, we're affiliated with different parts of Brooklyn, but of course we can all work together effectively. I'm wondering, what advice would you or have you given to Mayor-elect Adams about working with the Orthodox Jewish community as mayor?
Well, obviously the mayor-elect has a long positive history with the Orthodox community, as I have had. And I don't think, first of all, he needed my advice because he has had that good history. But what I'd say is, I think part of loving this city is loving all the communities in it. And Yehuda, I got to have just an incredibly powerful experience starting 20 years ago with a community I literally knew almost nothing about, with people in Borough Park and Kensington who I got to know when I first ran for city council. And it was kind of a revelation to me, a very different community to begin my initial understanding, but the deeper the relationships built, there were so many things we had in common. There were so many things that were sort of common causes and respect and friendships that deepened. And the charity that I saw in the community really moved me. The sense of people looking out for each other and caring for each other. And then I started to also get upset when I heard negative stereotypes of the community. And I've had that exact same reality as I deepen my relationships with the Muslim community, with the Sikh community. I mean, I could go all around the city and say, to me, it's been this voyage of deeper and deeper understanding as I've bonded with community after community and a lot of people in it, in each community. So again, I think Eric Adams is going to be sensitive and respectful of communities across the board. I think he's going to have a great relationship with the Orthodox community. But I'm appreciative for the friendship and the relationship. And, everything has its ups and downs, and there's things I did better and things I did worse. But what never changed was the respect and friendship that I found throughout the community, and that I feel deeply. Thank you.
We have time for two more for today. The next is Julia Marsh from The Post.
Congratulations, Mr. Mayor, on, as you said, finishing the whole race.
Yes, Julia, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you for that. This one's been like an ultra marathon.
Yeah, definitely a 100-miler there for you. Just following up on these last two COVID questions, a few related questions as my first one for you and the docs. Do you track people hospitalized who are vaccinated between 1 and 2 doses? And then I wondered if you have comorbidities for adults of those hospitalized. And then if there's a breakdown for people who come in with COVID versus who test later if they come in for like a sprained ankle or something else. And then can the doctors extrapolate?
Julia, hold on. Respectfully, I think there's so many complex questions. I don't think they'll be able to do well with yet another one. Let's, if you will, just stay on where you are so far for a moment. Dr. Katz and Dr. Choksi in that order, whatever you can answer now, and obviously we can make sure that you guys follow up after on some of the details, but can you give us, sort of summarizing the different pieces of Julia's question, can you give us something to start with here?
Yeah, I mean, people will write whole textbooks about the COVID epidemics, and they'll be able to go deep diving into all of the conditions that brought people in. And even then, many questions may not be completely resolvable. For example, and Dr. Choksi was alluding to this, a patient comes into one of my hospitals with a stroke. That's the reason they come in. They then are tested and found to be COVID positive. The reason they're tested for COVID is purely in order to figure out if they can be in a room by themselves or whether they'd be in a room with somebody else. That test is positive. Is it possible that COVID contributed to their stroke? Yes, it's possible, because we do know that COVID increases clots. So it's extremely difficult on all of these issues. We do not collect data separately on partial vaccination. We do collect data on full vaccination. And overwhelmingly, the people who are sick in our hospitals either are not fully vaccinated, or they have a reason why vaccination is not as effective, such as immunosuppression. So we see very few, very rare to see a highly sick person who has gotten to mRNA vaccinations or the 2 J&J vaccinations. All of the people that we have who are very sick are either no vaccination, or they did get fully vaccinated, but they have an underlying condition that makes it not possible for them to become fully immune safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Choksi. Anything to add?
No, nothing to add, sir.
Okay, go ahead, Julia.
Can I just ask a quick general follow-up to that?
Sure.
Okay, great. Because the doctors have been talking about, we're seeing how widespread community transmission is with these hospital COVID tests. Can they extrapolate how widespread it is in the general community, given that?
Dr. Choksi, you want to take a stab at that?
Certainly. Well, the best way to extrapolate what's happening in the community as a whole is actually through our surveillance data. This is the data that, of course, we put on the health department's website in terms of case counts, as well as test positivity. And the bottom line, of course, is that we are at a high level of transmission right now. Of course, we're seeing case counts that are higher than they've been in the entire pandemic, about 25,000 cases per day on the 7-day average, and also a very high test positivity on the order of about 25% right now, also on the 7-day average. So those are the best ways that we have to ascertain the level of infection in the community in real time. And as we know, with Omicron, it is at a very high level right now.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Julia.
Great. I appreciate the time on that, Mr. Mayor. And then a bit of an offbeat one for you. Have you used marijuana since it's been legalized? And if not, do you plan to do so after you leave office?
I think that's so offbeat. No, I'm not into it, Julia. It's really, the last time I used marijuana, I was at NYU as a student, a registered NYU student in my youth. Literally, that's the last time. No intention to use it, not interested in the least.
Last question for today, it goes to Deborah Lee from the Manhattan Times and Bronx Free Press.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
I am doing well, Deborah Lee. You are the closer for this entire administration. You are shutting it down for us.
Well, you're ahead, young man. Wonderful to be with you all this afternoon. I actually have a pinch hitter coming in for me, as I'd mentioned. I think for all of us, these pressers have been, these briefings have been an integral part of our days. We've wanted or not, and we have been in rooms with our family members as we've worked our way through this. That includes my son, who asked ahead of time for the privilege of asking you a couple of questions as you close out your administration's final hours. I hope that's all right.
Deborah Lee, that sounds fair to me. It's the voice of the new generation, right? So I am happy to take those questions. But he has to introduce himself.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
Good afternoon. Tell me your name.
My name is Matthew Santos Kelly.
All right. What's on your mind, my friend?
I have a couple of questions for you. One, from what you know, when will kids younger than 16 be allowed to get their boosters? I know a lot of my friends, including me, I would like to get my booster and protect myself even more. When is a possible deadline so I can prepare myself for it?
Excellent question. All right, Dr. Choksi, what do you got to say to that?
Well, first, I agree. What an excellent question, and thank you for asking it. So here's what we know so far. For kids younger than 16, but 12 and older, we are hearing that the FDA might grant authorization for boosters as soon as next week. That has to go to the CDC next, but I expect that to happen very quickly. So toward the middle to end of next week, maybe when kids 12 to 15 are also able to get a booster dose. Remember, you do have to be 6 months after your second dose of Pfizer in order to be able to get the booster shot. For those who are younger than 12, we will have to wait a little bit longer, and that's always because we have to make sure that all of the science on the safety and the effectiveness of the shot holds for younger kids as well.
Excellent. All right, what's your second question?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Choksi. And my second question is for you, Mr. Mayor. What would you tell younger people that want to run for office, and what advice would you give them?
I love that question. Thank you for it. I would encourage younger folks to get involved. I got to tell you, it has been the most engaging, positive experience. That doesn't mean the work's always easy. A lot of times it's really hard. But I am literally more optimistic today than the day I started, because when you run for office, you connect with the people. And the people are good. It's as simple as that. There's so much goodness in the people. And, you know, the notion, when you knock on someone's door, or you have a town hall meeting, or you take phone calls on a radio show, whatever it is, you connect with the heart and soul of the people, and that's enthralling. It's a beautiful experience. So I would say to anyone who's a young person who wants to have a life of fulfillment and an incredibly engaging life, take the plunge, take the chance. I would also say it's really hard work. It takes, you know, years and years of commitment. It takes, you know, you got to be tough, because it's not always going to be easy, but you will never find anything more rewarding than this work we do. That would be my advice. And thank you for the excellent questions. And Deborah Lee, you raised him well. That was really, really good stuff. And thank you as well, Deborah Lee, for all the times you've joined us and all the great questions you have asked as well. Well, everyone, I think it's time. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye, New York. See you again soon.
Yes. So, but these are the people he was just right over here, and then I'm going to put other people behind.
Yes.
Someone should have told me I would have practiced a little bit better. Well, especially if I was going to say
I'm exhausted. Been a long 8 years. But as Bill likes to say, it's only 2 days. The day you go in and the day you go out. And I guess this is the day you go out. What an adventure this has been. Maria?
There you are. Like magic.
Like magic. I could not be more proud of all that we have accomplished over this time. But of course, none of this would have been done if it hadn't been for all of you. So please give yourselves a round of applause. Woo! I'm going to try not to cry and make this very brief, but I do want to thank each and every member of the team, every member of this administration, and say thank you for the honor, the true honor that it's been to serve as First Lady. I never knew what this experience would be like, could be like, despite the fact that I actually started working here more than 30 years ago. It still has been a true surprise and meaningful beyond my wildest imagination. So thank you to every New Yorker for giving our family this opportunity to serve. I look forward to getting back home to Brooklyn. But I want all of you to know that one way or another, that Bill and I will still be around, ready to serve and support you in some form or fashion, whenever it's needed in the years to come. And now, for the last time this year in this administration, I have the great honor of introducing an extraordinary leader. Extraordinary. My partner in all things, and the 109th mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio.
Feels like the first night. When Chirlane said that, it reminded me of the night we all together won the right to be here. And as I've been going around greeting everyone upstairs and coming down, a lot of you were on that journey with us. A lot of you made it possible. So 8 years ago at this moment, we were about to embark on the great unknown of coming into here and leading this city. But for everyone who was part of making it happen from the very beginning, I really want to express appreciation. There are some people here, I'm not going to name names, there are some people here go back to the 2013 campaign, the 2009 campaign, the 2001 campaign, the 1999 school board race. All the people who made it possible, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have been ordered by Chirlane to be brief, so I'm going to try and bring you some from the heart, intense brevity. Here we go. First of all, Chirlane McCray redefined what it means to be the First Lady of New York City and did so much good for the people of the city. It takes my breath away. I love her more than ever. Thank you, Chirlane. You can say more, okay. All right. I'll sing a praise song. Everybody, what we did here in these 8 years has profoundly changed this city, and the effects of what we've done have only begun to be felt. I want everyone to feel this. What you have all done, and there was so much passion. As I look around, I can feel the times when we worked together to make something happen, and so often we were told it could not be done. Raise your hand if you were ever told it could not be done. But you did it. You did it. You did it. You changed millions of people's lives. We changed the way our kids are educated. We changed the way people get the housing they need. We changed the way people get the mental health care that so often was denied to them. We changed policing in this town permanently. We have changed so many things in the name of working people. And I want to thank everyone because you believed you could make the change. There's no way this works unless there's a group of kindred souls filled with spirit, filled with energy, filled with talent, who give their all. And I don't think the public has gotten the opportunity to know how hard you work, how much passion and love you put into your work. But I've seen it every day. From time to time, I've said, let's go farther. You can do more. You can do better. But when I told you you could do better, it's because I knew you could. It was actually a compliment. Maybe it didn't always feel that way, but it was. It was a compliment because I understood your greatness. I mean this. I understood your greatness. And I believed that we set the bar here, you could hit that. But if we set the bar up here, you would find a way, and you did. You did. You every time amazed me. We were not supposed to be able to have done pre-K. We did pre-K, and then we did 3K on top of it. So remember that. And we were not supposed to have been able to do 200,000 affordable apartments. We did 200,000. Now it's going to be 300,000. You did that. And Lord knows, the folks we talked to said, don't even think that you can make an impact on something as difficult and sprawling as mental health. But we have now set the model of how to reach people who never even got to talk about their problem. I want you to understand what happened here. It's not just programs. There's a very different conversation now happening in the families in New York City. And people now can talk about this human reality and get the help they deserve. You made that happen. That is, I have talked to people whose lives have been changed. And I want you to understand this. I don't know how much you all get to hear from the people whose lives you've made better. I hope you have. Every single one of you. Whatever your job, you made people's lives better. But I get to hear from the people come up and tell me their stories. And I cannot tell you how many times someone has said to me, we used to not talk about this problem. We used to hide it. Now we talk about it. We used to not be able to get help. Now we can. Someone said to me the other day, a dear friend, that when mental health first aid came out, they didn't know what to make of it, but they ended up taking it. And then they had a crisis in their own family, and because of the training they got in mental health first aid, they were able to save a family member. It's one story of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands on one thing we did. If you want to feel good about life, meet one of the families who got an affordable apartment and knows it's theirs now for decades to come. If you want to feel good about life, talk to a family that got pre-K for their child that would never have had an alternative they could afford. Talk to the families who had multiple kids in pre-K and 3Ks. Those are very happy families. What I love about New Yorkers is they, of course, for a moment tell you how great it was for their kids and their development, but then they immediately go to the bottom line and say, but we saved a lot of money. And we wanted them to save a lot of money. We wanted to put money back in the pockets of working people, and we did in so many ways. There has been no stronger example of focusing on working people than what you have done. You have refocused the city of New York on working people. You have put money back in people's pockets. You've changed people's lives. So I will wrap it together this way, and then I want to make some very special presentations. I will wrap it together by saying, we dreamed a dream, all of us together. We believed that we did not have to accept a series of injustices. We did not have to live with a status quo that wasn't working for the people we represent. And any one of you could have said this mission is too hard, but no one ever said that. You all accepted the mission, and then you gave it your heart and your soul. And this city is so much the better because of you. And the changes will last. They will last. What happened in these 8 years? More than we dreamed of happened in these 8 years. Because we put together a dream team. And you showed that change is possible. Not just what we've done, what more can be done. You've shown the whole world how much we can change for the better. So I want to thank each and every one of you for that. Everyone deserves praise, but to deputy mayors, past and present, who were the glue of this operation, just a special moment to say, boy, did I rely on you. Deputy Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Deputy Mayor. I relied on you so much, and you set the bar very high. And I just got to say, the city, I don't have to tell you guys, but that's a special title. You don't get that title unless you're really, really good and really worthy. And guess what? You were really good. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I'm reversing the order because I like to be mischievous. I'm going to be mischievous. Okay. 3 members of this team who epitomize the incredible, passionate work that our public servants do each and every day. First, Chirlane and I got to know her during the Dinkins administration. She made government work. She made sure that the right people got hired, got brought on board. She made sure that throughout people were treated with respect. She could demystify any situation and always had an answer. And she's got a heart of gold, and she has given how many years to this city? 35 years of public service. Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, Elba Feliciano. Okay, this next one, this cool cat has served continuously every mayor from Ed Koch on, and he has captured the life of the city and the life of City Hall and done it with creativity and brilliance, but also a warmth and a kindness and a calm that didn't make sense to the rest of us because the world would be going crazy, and somehow he stayed cool throughout. But he has chronicled the life of this city with love. How many years, dude? 35 years, Ed Reed, ladies and gentlemen. Ed is literally taking pictures of his own ceremony. He's like, I mean, it's kind of, it's super tacky that we have him on duty during this, but that's okay. Okay, one more superstar, and all these folks, heart, soul, longevity, love for the people of this city. She is known for her, there's so many reasons she's known. Once upon a time when I was just a young puppy starting out in this work, I had the honor of working with her, and she helped school me in the ways of City Hall. She has, for everyone in need of a boost, a candy dish that always overflows. There is never a lack of snacks. She gives heart and spirit to everyone around her. She knows more about how this place works than anyone. And once upon a time, and maybe still, she was a rap artist. known as Madam Star. Classy name. Our chief of staff in the press office, who is sister to us all, mother to us all, guide to us all, Angela Banks, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Three more. And these three have to be defined as the glue of this whole experience. There's so many good people here, and I have so many thanks I could offer to so many people. So I'm singling out folks because there was something that just is essential. These three folks, I can safely say, Chirlane and I could never have gotten through this without, literally. And we depended on every day in every way. And they were glue, they were the rock, they made this whole thing work. First of all, we turned to her often for every kind of guidance because she had been a friend of our family for so long. And she had a vision of what could be achieved through Chirlane's work, how we could reach people, and not just on mental health, but on gender equity, on the Unity Project, on so many things. She made sure that Gracie Mansion was a place for all the people. I don't know how many job descriptions a single human being can have, but whatever that limit is, Roxanne John had them all. Ladies and gentlemen, Roxanne John. There was a day during our transition, and I don't really 100% know if I had the idea first or someone else had the idea first, but there was a legendary figure in our state. He was someone that everyone acknowledged had the ability to get things done in a way that almost no one else in public life did. He was beloved by literally everyone who ever worked for him I ever met loved him. And everyone who had to be across the negotiating table from him was terrified of him. And that was a beautiful combination in my mind. And I remember very, very vividly, people said, well, you'll never get him. He'd never want to come to live in New York City, you'll never get him. Now, me being a tad entrepreneurial, I said, we'll see about that. I said, let's find out if we can get the superstar. It's kind of like LeBron taking his talents to Miami Beach. This kind of situation. And in fact, there was discussion when we announced him originally for the budget director role of having dry ice and smoke and a whole thing, but we decided against that. But as budget director, he glued the whole operation together. He also drove so much of the good we were able to do in Albany, against all the odds, may I add. And then as first deputy mayor, he has been a revelation. And helped lead us through just the toughest moments in the city's history, somehow cool at all times, and ladies and gentlemen, never ever stopping to eat lunch. Are you saying because he was so busy? No, he refuses to eat lunch, which none of us understand, but somehow keeps total energy all day long. Is he human? Is he superhuman? Was he sent from another planet to help us? Maybe. We never asked that on the background check. but he has been a treasure. Ladies and gentlemen, Dean Foulahan. Everybody here is great. There are people here, again, who go back. I'm never going to name names. I won't name names. David Dinkins, you say, one ought not acknowledge people in the crowd, Patrick Gaspard, or Gabrielle Fialkoff. We ought not do that. Those are two of the OGs, okay? The people who brought us here from the very, 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 very beginning. But the last proclamation goes to the Queen Mother. I feel like my relationship with Emma is kind of like Lennon and McCartney if they hadn't split up. It's like somehow, through it all, we have an ability to find a way together. And it's been a beautiful, beautiful bond and partnership. I remember when I recruited her for our 2009 campaign, and our friends at the Working Families Party were, I'll use another Dinkins phrase, Patrick, they were less than pleased. But it was the smartest thing I ever did. And through it all, the crazy, wacky 2009 campaign in the industrial building by the Gowanus Canal that did not imply grandeur, through the rather dingy public advocate's office, but we made it ours, we made it beautiful, to the grandeur of City Hall. But throughout it all, the running electric current of this team, the person that everyone could turn to, no problem too big, no problem too small, filled with love and compassion for the good. But God help you if you were doing wrong, because Emma could go from really sweet, kind person to like Death Star very quickly. Very, very quick. I've seen that escalation. I could hear sometimes through the wall, I'm like, someone did something bad. But brilliance is all I can say. Brilliance. Ladies and gentlemen, Emma Wolf. Emma, your people love you. They just love you. They love you, Emma. So we leave with love. We leave with love and joy for the fact that we all got to be together. And the last thing I'll say to you is you will never forget each other and you will never lose each other. Patrick will attest. There's not a day that goes by where I'm not connected to someone that I came up with in the Dinkins world. That was my original team, and my teammates from 30 years ago are my teammates today. I liked my teammates so much, I married one. But you are now going to be together for life, because there is nothing that compares to this place. This place has a nature, an energy, a spirit that there's just no place else. This city, of course, but this place, this is the heart of New York City, right here. And you guys were part of that beating heart. And you will stay connected to each other, and that will be a joy in your life. But it's also going to be part of why you go forward and do so many good things for this world, because you'll have each other. I guarantee it, because I've lived it. And I finish by saying this is all, in the end, the work we do is the work of love. It really is. You have to love the people and love this place. To every hour, every day, give yourself to it. That's what you all did. That's what Chirlane and I tried in our own way to do with all our heart and soul. It is about love, and my love for this place has grown. Representing all of it, feeling connected to all of it, fighting for all of it, making it a city for all of us, and seeing the heroism of New Yorkers in our toughest hour that became also our finest hour. This hero city. I love it more than ever. Thank you, everybody.
Hush now, child, and don't cry. Your folks might understand you by and by. Just move on up toward your destination, though you may find from time to time complication.